guys ready to get into game? Think we should actually play some D&D? I think that we should play some D&D. So let's do that. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let us recap a little bit for last week's episode. Our intrepid, adventurous airship crew, and finally actually call yourselves that now that you have disembarked from the Stormsong Mountains, leaving the troubles of Orlustran behind. You have ventured south on your way to the desert regions of the Imperium in an effort to try and collect what you hope to be the final piece that you need to have your airship repaired, and ready to go for whatever long voyage takes you the furthest away from this awful place known as the Imperium. It was a little bit rough getting started. Everyone was a bit fatigued from their quick and laborious venture out of the Stormsong after having been waylaid by the clergy in the Stormsong Mountains and having a rather calamitous series of events take place at the peaks. Leaving that dark place behind, though, you found yourselves sailing into a storm, as it were. At first, the storms made things more difficult for you as you attempted to learn as you went how to even fly this magnificent vessel, this ship that flies on air rather than sails upon the sea. And turned out that these storms provided a little bit of cover. They provided benefit, allowing you to perhaps travel, albeit a little bit more dangerously, but with a little bit more secrecy in your journey. For surely anyone in the countryside that happened to glance up would not be able to see your ship coursing through these dark and ominous clouds, through this tumultuous, steady rain with occasional bursts of lightning and thunder. And yet, the days pressed on. Several days went by. You finally started to get the hang of what you were doing. Finally started to make sense a little bit. How to trim sails here and there. How to tighten down whatever tumultuous things might be tumbling across the deck of the ship before it caused harm. How to keep the engines going for some of you. Thankfully, all of these tasks, as laborious and difficult as they might have been, you were able to find rest in the evenings, setting the ship down in safe spaces, sometimes touching down in a river or a lake to try to pose as some normal water-going vessel, other times finding hills to hide behind or large forests to dip into. As each day pressed on, it got a little bit easier. But you still had worries. How were your supplies holding up? You didn't really have an opportunity to go and collect fresh food before your departure. You've been sustaining yourselves on whatever hardtack foodstuffs, whatever things can last the longest and are easiest to cook. You still have a decent array of spices. Some spices, in fact, that you never had before, coming from far-off lands, whatever place that this ship originated from, or whatever places it had visited. And yet, you still felt the need to collect more things for your journey. You also had the pressing concern of what is happening with Oriana, your divining wizard who was struck down with some kind of curse from the Nostromo and still has yet to be identified. Varric, the twins' father, put some effort into this endeavor, trying to figure out what happened, or at the very least, something that can provide aid to the young diviner. And you think, or he thinks, with Mira's aid, that there is the potential for doing an appropriate curse removing or suppressing ritual, but you need some materials for that. And as you reached the Midlands of the Imperium, you settled the ship down once more, and a discussion was had between Varric and Mira and Bren about potentially waiting an extra day, perhaps two, to continue your journey. Where there's a small town not too far distant, just a few hours perhaps, if you press quickly, walk. A small town known as Rhymeglen. It's known as a bit of a crossroads between the Midlands and the northern reaches of the Imperium, and while it is small, being such a central place, it offers opportunity to perhaps collect some of the resources that you need. And as Mira went around asking everyone who would want to venture on this trip, it was decided that Balin, still limping a bit from their previous encounter with the clergy and the need for someone to keep watch over Oriana, that Phelan and Ren would stay behind, while the rest of you ventured on with Varric to Rhymeglen. You settled in for the evening. This potential journey weighing perhaps on your minds a bit. As we come into the next morning, is there any final preparations that anyone wishes to make before departing to Rhymeglen?
I'll leave the scroll of major illusion with Phelan, I guess? No, I'll leave it with Varric.
Varric's coming with you.
Oh, he's coming with us. Okay.
Yeah. You could leave it with Phelan.
I'll leave it with Phelan then.
Phelan
you know
has
what to do.
Phelan has some innate skill with magic, being a cursed individual as well, and at the very least has absorbed some level of arcana knowledge from spending so much time with Mira. They feel like they at least understand scrolls well enough to read them, so they have a decent chance.
I kind of figured we would probably need to buy a lot of supplies, so I went to go kind of take a look at like the money situation, the gold situation, and I don't know if maybe in the scuffle, but for some reason I'm missing 10 gold. Does anybody know? Has anybody seen?
It's so weird, but that's so weird.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. Maybe when you were climbing around, it fell out of your pocket and fell off the side of the ship. I could be anywhere by now.
But I mean, that money I keep in a very private place stashed on me. I was saving that for something. Dang.
You did turn into like a gorilla or an ape a lot, maybe when your pants ripped.
My pants don't rip. If you guys see 10 gold around here, I was saving that for something. If you could just let me know.
What are you saving it for?
It's a secret.
I can loan you, 10 gold if we come across what you're looking for and you don't have the money, but I'll
Did you
keep
take
my
my
eye
10
out
gold?
for it. No,
Did you?
of course not.
What a weird thing to say.
Before. Yeah, he looks at Mira and he's like, I wasn't suspicious before, but
Yeah, Mira, where did you get extra 10 gold to loan? That's crazy.
I didn't say
What
I
a
had
crazy
an extra
thing to
10
say.
get gold to loan, but Bren, being a dear friend of mine, I don't want him to be in need. So if he stumbles across this mysterious item that he needs to procure, I'm happy to lend him the 10 gold from my own purse because I love him so dearly.
Yeah, we'll spot you. No problem.
I don't know what's going on here between you all, but I hope you sleep comfortably in the fact knowing that you have stolen from an older man. That's all I have.
Wow, that's a crazy accusation.
Violet. Anyway. Do we have a list of things? Because the first thing we're going to need to do once we get into town is I'm tired of eating jerky and granola. Like, we really need to get some food.
That is not my area of expertise, so I don't make lists, grocery lists.
But you make really good lists. That's why I asked.
I usually do the groceries, so if you need help. Yeah.
Well, it's just more so if you've noticed things, stuff. We won't be able to buy anything too special, no any premium cuts of meat because I'm down 10 gold.
What kind of meat are you spending 10 gold on?
I guess we'll never know.
Meanwhile, Varric has been like standing off to the side, collecting, his things for heading out, and is every now and then just looking over and seeing this exchange, and then just like checks his pockets, shakes his head, goes back to his business. Ren actually will approach, and as she walks up, she just kind of looks back and forth with everyone. Yeah, so, okay. Perimeter seems fine. Everything seems safe. I'm going to have Lyra follow you guys above and keep an eye on you while you're in town. So if you see Lyra, which is probably not likely, but if you do, there's a reason for it. Just giving you guys that heads up. Yeah. Hey, Bren, can I have a quick chat?
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What's on your mind?
Take a walk. And they just kind of like tug on their clothes. She just like tugs on her clothes a little bit and straightens herself out and starts walking towards the ladder down the side of the ship.
Like quick turn to Violet and just before following. Your aunt's not hitting on me right now, are they? Like, this is not what this is.
Oh, no.
Come. Something is going on here, and I'm gonna figure it out.
Do you want her to hit on you?
It's just, why would she want to talk to me? Do you know?
You're either in trouble or she wants to kiss you. That's what I guess. But
I think both those things are trouble.
No,
I
right?
can sense that she has feelings for you. Just saying.
is Beth telling, or is 80 telling the truth?
I'm just, Bren's not even gonna challenge it. Like, it's just like, really? Okay. Oh, all right, fine. It follows behind.
For what it's worth, she is like 200 years his senior, so...
So is Phelan and Mira.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter with Phelan.
No. Wholeheartedly not true. So Bren follows.
Yes.
As you start climbing down the ladder, you can see that she's standing there with her arms crossed, just waiting, like her back turned to the ladder. As soon as you get most of the way down, she starts walking slowly away from the ship. You catch up. Go ahead and roll an insight check for me.
Holy crap. That's a 23.
You can tell pretty clearly that she's more on edge than you're normally used to. And you feel like that just in thinking back to her demeanor over the past several days that you guys have been traveling, that she is that it's finally, she's either finally figured out what she wants to say, or she just can't hold it in anymore. Like, she has that kind of vibe to her. And as you catch up to her, she just keeps walking, and she doesn't look at you as you come up beside her. And you just hear her say, "What are you doing here?"
Excuse me?
"What are you doing here?" And she's walking fairly casually at this point. Like, she's got her hands in her pockets, and
You told me to follow you. That's what I'm.
that's not what I mean.
What do you?
The ship. And she just kind of cocks her head back towards the ship and keeps walking. Seems important to you. So I just want to know, what are you doing here?
I don't really know. I know how I got here, and I know why I'm still here.
Why are you still here then?
I feel like I have to be.
Do you want to be?
It's better than what I was doing before.
Yeah, but that doesn't answer the question.
I guess that's where the difficulty lies. I don't know how to answer your question. Would I prefer to be doing what I was doing before all of this? Absolutely not. Can I imagine myself doing something else right now, other than sleeping? Probably not. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here. Like I said, I know why. I know how I got here, and I know why I'm still here. But what I'm doing, I don't know.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry if that wasn't.
That's fine. It's fine. We'll come back to that. One other thing that I want to mention, and she stops and she turns and she fixes you with her blue eyes. She says, "Just so you know, I don't normally let people that are involved in trying to kill me go." And I've been thinking about this for a few days, trying to figure out how I wanted to say it. The guy up on the mountain that you gave a few coins to and let go, I'm not saying you were wrong to do it. And I understand that in the heat of the moment, you couldn't exactly, check in with me on that. And normally in that situation, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with what you did, but I'm just giving you a heads up for future. Just because of, just because I got a history with these people trying to kill me. Like a lot. That's not easy for me to let go. Whether you were right or you were wrong, I feel like I need to tell you where I'm at with that. You understand what I mean on that?
I do, and I appreciate. First of all, I appreciate your willingness to tell me, as opposed to just holding a grudge or just being angry at me the entire time. If I may, I understand that you see my point of view in that moment. If I could point out some things.
Sure.
You have a reputation.
Oh,
and
really?
You have a history. No, this is me making a statement. Because you just said it. Like, you have a history with these people, and you obviously have a reputation on how you are. Me personally, in that moment, I saw a lost child, honestly. And you are very strong, and you are very powerful. We've seen it. You're scary. What stopped you from chasing him down? None of us would have been able to stop you. And none of us probably would if you did. It's a measure of strength, in my opinion. It takes a lot to hurt someone.
To be honest with you, the only thing that stopped me was Violet. I don't feel like I'm a very good role model for Violet. They're going through some stuff right now, and if it were up to me, every living thing in the world that hurts Violet would be met at the end of an arrow. And that's not fair to Violet.
Sounds to me you're the perfect role model for her. When you
A, she barely knows me. B, I've been around for a long time, and I don't know how much longer I'm going to be around, and I don't want Violet to just think of me as her aunt that kills people.
I can tell you right now, that's not the primary thing she thinks about you. It's something, but it's not the primary thing. And honestly, the fact that you didn't chase that boy down after we let him go is a step in the right direction of making good use of the time that you feel you do have with Violet.
We'll see. We'll see how all that works out. My guess is that at some point in the near future, there's going to be some people that need to be dealt with, and I'll probably end up being involved in it in some capacity or other. But right now, I think I'd just like to focus on getting us to a safe place. And that's kind of the primary reason that I wanted to talk to you before you guys head out to Rime Glen. I know that everything up there on that ship is important to you in some way or other. I know that this journey is important to you somewhere deep inside you. You've made that pretty apparent. And everyone on that ship needs a role. You agree with that?
I do.
Okay. Obviously, everybody's going to want to weigh in on this, but as far as I'm concerned, you're captain now.
That means a lot coming from you. I'm going to say that right now. It's definitely something I do want everybody to weigh in on, but I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Not a vote of confidence, it's the only thing that makes sense. Lord knows I'm not going to let Balin do it. I'm fairly certain Oriana wouldn't be able to say no if her name was put forward for captaincy, because she'd be too flabbergasted. Sisk really, really likes that engine room. And of the trio of young ladies, do you honestly think any of them could make the sensible decisions that you've had to make in the past, 10 days?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, then that leaves you, because I'm not fucking doing it.
Oh, God. Captain by default now, so you started off really well.
You can take it how you want, Cap. And she just reaches out and smacks your shoulder really hard. And then turns and starts walking back to the ship.
It's still something we need to discuss.
Have fun talking to everybody about that.
No, jeez. It would have been a lot easier if she just wanted to kiss me.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Really wasn't hiding it, but okay. I'll just follow behind.
The rest of you gathering your things for the trip to Rime Glen. The duo comes back just a short bit later. Any last minute things that you want to do before you head out?
I'd like to look at my dad's journal and look at Rime Glen to see if there's any notes or if there are any entries about this place.
Go ahead and give me an investigation check, please.
$24.
Nice. You do find a couple of pages that you had seen previously and had just kind of glossed over before. And in those pages, it's mostly dates and times in month and day format, but not year. And you're fairly certain that based on the other things from your dad's journal, that's when something is happening within Rime Glen. Very likely it's caravans moving through or something like that, because that's mainly what your father focused on with a lot of this sort of stuff. And as you've gone through that, you do remember one particular name that kind of stood out amongst it all, because it had an asterisk next to it, which your father always denoted for important things, and that was the name Buzzin. It's also right underneath a couple of the entries for caravans, so very likely related to something with that.
Like to find Ren and show her the journal. Ask her if she recognizes it.
As they come back up onto the ship, there's kind of an awkward silence as Ren kind of looks at all of you, looking at her, and then Bren comes up and she just starts walking away. You go over and intercept her and show her the journal, and she looks at it. Wow, you kept these things?
Yeah, well, they were in his bag, and I kept his bag. I use his bag.
Okay. I never ventured this far south. Not related to things with your father, anyway. I always stayed in the north and tried to handle as much as I could in the Hollow.
You recognize the name?
No. Can't say I do, but if your dad put a name in there, my guess is that they're either an ally or an enemy.
Okay.
But I don't know, it feels like there would have been a warning or something written if it was an enemy. I don't know, you know your father better than I do.
I don't think so, but... Did you guys kiss?
What? Why would I kiss your father?
Oh, no. Okay, bye. And she'll walk away.
You just leave her standing there confused. The fuck? Oh, God. And she just walks away.
Oh, I want to ask the twins. So, I think we should come up with some games or something to keep us occupied on the trip. What's that game you always want to play that makes Ren go, ugh?
Oh, Truth or Dare?
Yeah, maybe we should do some of that. Do you think that would be?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes, please.
If you could think of anything else that might be fun.
We also have this game where if you see a white horse, you just yell white horse and get points for it.
Okay.
I'm winning currently, so.
For now.
Well, now you have a contender, so get ready. Sweet. That's it. That's all I wanted.
Oh. Any last minute things before you head out that you want me to be aware of? All right. You gather up your things and venture off of your airship, heading east towards Rhymeglen. Varric is in tow with you, and you can tell pretty clearly that he's doing everything he can not to slow any of you down. He does kind of know the way, but thankfully, Bren has good maps, has a good sense of this sort of thing. As you start venturing east, you have to go over and through several bits of forested land, quite a few hills. The ground is wet, difficult to travel through, and each of you makes your way with your own challenges in tow. It's a bit of a silent journey, as it were. Occasional awkward glances from 80 to others. Violet staying perhaps a little too far ahead of the rest of you, just trying to make sure everything is safe. But there's a bit of uncomfortableness there that seems like it's going to need to resolve at some point. And Bren, kind of in the middle of all of it, trying to make sure everybody doesn't get lost. As you crest the final ridge of hills, Rhymeglen comes into view. It's a fairly modest stone and thatch town, nestled comfortably between some nice rolling green hills. And you can see, as you stand atop one of those hills, neat rows of farmland and clusters of homes that mark the town's edges. There's an obvious central square, and in this early afternoon time, it's pretty busy. The small town has a variety of crossroads going through it for various travelers and traders. And as you look, you can see atop the largest hill on the eastern side of the town is what is very obviously the Triune Sanctorium. Its white and gray stone walls give off a sense of peace as the cloudy day, sunlight, what little there is peeking through the ominous clouds above, reflect off of this stone. There's an almost serenity to it. The temple seems to almost float above the town. And even at this distance, you can see monks moving about the open courtyards, slow and deliberate, going through their daily rituals and meditations. It's an elegant architecture, but also simple in a way. It's kind of a stark contrast, as it were, to the rugged landscape of everything around. As you venture your way towards Rhymeglen, you see a number of travelers moving along the southern and northern roads. There's a variety of wagons creaking under the weight of whatever goods that are probably headed elsewhere in the Imperium. There's a large inn that stands near the town center. And not far from that, a marketplace that seems to buzz with a bit of activity, whether it be farmers or miners or merchants. You can also see, scattered about this central square, a large number of ribbons and banners hanging from ropes strung between the various buildings. Perhaps some kind of celebration. You're not entirely sure. As you get closer, you can also tell that there's an obvious shrine to Vitharion here. Very large stone structure, not too far off from the inn, and there's a good number of people gathered around it. It doesn't seem to be any kind of religious ceremony or anything taking place at the shrine. You get the sense more that it's just a nice gathering place that people know well enough and come up to hang out to talk. Everyone seems to be going about their daily routines, with farmers tending to fields, merchants haggling in the marketplace. There's a couple of blacksmiths clanging their hammers. You see children running through the streets. And at a glance, everything seems so peaceful. There's a quiet rhythm here in this town. It doesn't take you long, however, to note that there's something else going on, though. It's not a tension per se, but as you make your way through the edges of town, every now and then you catch furtive glances from people that see that you're strangers, and they don't look at you wrongly, but they aren't necessarily overjoyed to see you here. Some farmers, occasionally as you walk by, will be glancing up at the storm clouds, and you hear a muttering of something under their breath. It's like the people are kind of waiting for something to happen, almost. And you don't know what that might be. There's something there. Something you can't quite name. But life goes on through whatever unspoken worries might be happening. And you just have to hope that whatever trouble might be on the horizon doesn't involve you. you venture into the center of town, where most of the activity is taking place. You very quickly get wrapped up in what appears to be preparations for a festival. You see a banner being erected between a couple of buildings that says Happy Harvest Tide. And any of you, if you would like, could make a history check.
$11.
6.
Got a 7.
Andrew, would you like to roll?
Sure.
Oh,
Natural one. I wasn't even gonna roll.
hell no.
Violet does not know anything about this.
Most of you are pretty well distracted by the town, maybe distracted by the tasks that you have to do. Mira seems to recall something about Harvesttide, something to do with like the first spring's harvest coming through. But that just might be logical deduction more than anything else, because this should be around the time that some of the larger harvests after, winter are finally being collected. And yeah, seems to be some type of festival. You can see tables going up where arrangements of food are being brought in, veritable feast. Some folks are setting up on a large dais for what is likely either dancing or music or both. And not too far off, there's a number of merchants already hawking market wares, things, hand knit things and such that they've probably been working on for a while. What all would you like to do?
Mir would look to Varric and see if he wants to go and try and talk to people at the Sanctorium right away, or if he's content to mill around for a bit and wants to do that later.
As you look at Varric and start talking to him, at first you don't think he heard you, because you get, through a few words, and he spooks and looks over at you. You realize that he was looking over at something on one of the tables where some folks were setting up some food, and he was just kind of lost in thought with it. And then he catches up to what you're saying, and he just nods, and he's like, right. Yeah, I can go to the Sanctorium and take care of that. You don't have to come with if you don't want to.
Oh.
It probably would be good for us to split up to do everything that we need to do if we're trying to get back to the ship before nightfall and all.
Okay, well, if that's what you think is best, I thought it might be a chance to learn something, but if, I can find something else to do.
I'm aware of the fact that going to a place like the Sanctorium might feel a little uncomfortable for you right now.
I've been in uncomfortable places for as long as I can remember, so it's not an unfamiliar feeling. And I always like a chance to learn, but maybe you're right.
Wait. This whole thing is making me a little uncomfortable, so I'm going to probably just head off and do that right now.
Okay.
He awkwardly, like, gives you a hug. It's over at 80 and pulls her into it too. Pulls your head forward 80 and gives you a kiss on your forehead. I'll find you guys. I'll catch up to you, or I'll send you a message or something if I need anything or need to find you. He turns and heads off.
80 will reach and take Mira's hand as they're walking. She can feel the vibe.
What's Sisk doing?
I don't know what other things we had really planned on getting. I don't remember if I had intentions previously, but I'm happy to go and like start picking up food and choosing out the right ingredients and stuff. You're muted.
Yes.
Didn't we say that there could be somebody in this town to help Oriana wake up?
That's what Varric is going to... Why he's going to the Sanctorium.
Cool. Well... Shopping episode.
There's a lot that we should get.
Yeah.
What's the vibe when it comes to people with hoods up or ears covered? Is it obvious if there's anything?
Give me an insight check if you'd like.
$15.
Okay. Violet's used to getting looks. And Violet gets looks here in Rhyme Glen. But not the kind that she's used to. It's not quite as open and welcoming as Mrs. Withersby. But it feels similar in that kind of country-esque sort of embrace. Folks that look at you and see perhaps the strangest of your hair or your demeanor before they see anything else. They're not looking for any sign that you've been marked. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. What do you guys want to do? We're here, I don't know.
See if there's something fun to do.
Well, it looks like they're setting up for festival, I think.
Yeah.
Or you're a farmer. Is it harvest time or something?
Let me see. How would I know that? I don't even know where we are. Let's
just go to the inn. Let's get a drink.
Yeah, can I just go up to the people setting up the stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to walk up to somebody who's like setting things up. To be like, hello.
As you approach as you approach one of the tables where someone is like arranging a very large table with what appears to be potluck style food, he stops and turns, looks at you. You can see that he's some kind of a baker or cook or something. He has a very relatively dirty white apron on, and kind of wipes off his hands on the apron as you approach, and he says, "Oh, hello there."
Hi. My name is Bren. These are my friends. We're very, very new in town, and we just wanted to know what you guys are setting up for.
Oh, hi, Brent. Hi, everyone. My name is Cord. And he just kind of looks or points up at the sign that's now fully up and says, Harvesttide. It's the Harvesttide Festival.
Oh! It turns back to Violet. It is harvest season.
Right, it's our first big harvest, so we've got all kinds of new things come in, and everybody kind of just gathered up, and a bunch of people are cooking and bringing in all kinds of food. The town just kind of gathers up. You're welcome to it too. We don't discourage any visitors and such that might be making their way through from. It's not just a Rhyme Glen thing.
Oh, no, yeah. So there are other towns that come in. It's kind of like a big.
I mean, there's
thing.
not other towns that come in, but any people that we get a lot of caravans, and we get a lot of travelers and such people, transient, making their way through, and we've had some folks from the south that get all weird about it, trying to give coins and ask where they need to donate and all of that. They don't really understand that, no, this is just, normal everyday life.
Oh, so is it rude to donate or to like?
I mean, no, it's not necessarily rude. We don't have an orphanage or anything like that, but the town doesn't collect a ton of taxes. We usually anything that we do get goes into a collective fund for things like repairing the South Bridge and all of that. It's always getting destroyed after it rained, and so one day we'll actually make it out of stone, I think, and stop making it out of wood. Anyway,
nice.
Would you like some cider? And he immediately just turns and goes over to this very large barrel where there appears to be some apple cider that there's some stone mugs and such there, and he just kind of reaches in and scoops a mug out for you and hands it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take a sip of it. This is amazing.
It's probably got a little bit more cinnamon than Bren is used to, but it's pretty good.
This is amazing.
Oh, thanks. My wife spent a while on that batch.
It's okay. Is there like a local tavern or an inn that maybe we could kind of settle up to? Or?
I mean, we've got the Iron Tap over there. It's pretty much the only thing in town. You might have a difficult time if you're looking to get a room. You might have a difficult time with that, but usually whenever it fills up, you can ask the barkeep. He usually keeps a list of folks that have opened up their spare rooms in their houses and stuff for overflow during busy times like this, if you are looking to stay the night.
Yeah, we're traveling, so we're not looking to spend a lot of time, but we were looking to kind of get some supplies for the rest of the trip, and we just saw this. We thought we'd enjoy with you all.
Sure.
If that was okay.
Well, more than welcome. I think we're going to probably be getting started in a couple of hours. Everybody's still kind of setting up and such. Yeah. And if you
are
are
games or fanfare or like a band,
we've got a local group that does like to get up and play music and such. I'm sure that the children have all kinds of games that they like to play. This is We're a pretty relaxed bunch here in Rhineland. And this is just one of the many excuses that we have for, gathering together and eating good food and talking a lot. There's a lot of talking in a little town like this.
Not much to do, right?
Oh, there's plenty to do. It's just, gossip, news from all over seems to go through Rhymeglen, and sometimes the news isn't all great. And so, I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of talking tonight. That's why this side of batch is non-alcoholic.
Smart.
Yeah.
Have you heard of something that's terrible, dangerous? Or...
Yes and no. Kind of glances around a little furtively. I don't like talking about clergy-related things. It's got the town a little bit on edge. Apparently, the upcoming trials that are supposed to happen sometime either this year or next are going to be rolling through, and everybody's a little bit nervous about that. Whenever trials come around, it seems to always work up whoever's far to one side or the other of that conversation, and it's kind of hard for us folk that try to sit in the middle of everything and just have a good life to deal with it. Now apparently there's news trickling in of some kind of crusade happening in the north. Some temple or church group or other has got their knickers in a bunch about cursed as usual, and yeah. We're just trying to stay out of it. We're just a little town in the middle of nowhere on the road to everywhere.
Just trying to live.
Just trying to live. Speaking of living, if you do need supplies and such, you mentioned. So the hillside market, and he kind of chucks his thumb to the south, where you see that there's a large hill and there's quite a number of small wooden shacks, where one side of the shack it's like 3-walled shacks, one side is open, that are arranged in semicircles that are kind of in stepped increments up the side of the hill. That's Hillside Market, and you can tell that there's a number of people that are already set up. I guarantee you within the next 2 hours that thing is going to be packed with all of the locals that are trying to sell everything that they've got from the new harvest. So if you're looking for something fresh, that'll be the place.
Thank you, Corb. And I guess we'll be seeing you around.
Yeah, sure. Nice to meet you, Brent. Nice to meet you all too, even though I didn't meet you at all.
They're shy. Sorry.
It's all right.
Walk back to the group. What was that? Do you guys all of a sudden, cat's got your tongue? What's that about?
It seemed like you were doing such a great job.
I'm hinting a bit of a toot.
No, genuine admiration for your tact and aplomb.
There's no tact. Like, these people, they're just local townsfolk. They're just living. And there's really no...
as a simple farmer, know how to talk to them.
Toot turned into sass. I don't appreciate it. That's Korg back there. Baker. Wife makes a lovely cup of cider. It's really...
You still have the stone mug in your hand, by the way.
Oh, I turned back and go, do you need this back? Like,
he's already moved on, gone to go and get something else. You see that there's a table there next to the cider that has a dozen of those.
This is really good. You guys should try this. So apparently it's harvest season, so they just come together and they just feast. It's not really like a market, but you can pay or donate. The actual market's over there. You just point over in the direction, and then there's the tavern over there. And apparently this place likes to gossip. word on high is that there's another set of trials coming along. Crazy, right? Like really trying to put up like just in case somebody's passing by. In addition to that, there's some crusade happening on in the north. Some wild religious zealots of the clergy are just going off.
Blimey. Not again.
Not again.
How do we know that those aren't the religious zealots that we're fleeing from?
We don't, which is why we are approaching it like this, as we don't know. Drinks?
I'm gonna get started
Yes.
on buying stuff. I don't know if anyone wants to come with me, but
Yeah, I'll come with you, Sisk.
Oh, I was actually going to suggest that Violet, this would be a good time to get some things so you can, I don't know, make something special.
Sure. Is there something you want?
You know, you used to make this bread. This is this sweet bread with like fruit in it. It was really good. Apparently nobody else really liked it, but I always did. It was really good.
Yeah. I can make that again.
That'd be great. You too. Let's not try to cause some trouble in this tavern and maybe relax a little bit.
Great.
No trouble. Got it.
you
Are
already
you,
let
are
her
you
buy.
two okay?
No, definitely not.
What's wrong? What's wrong?
I'm going to the tavern now. And Adi will just start walking.
In case you forgot, our mom got disintegrated recently. So we're having, a time.
I thought we were going to talk about that once we relaxed. I know I didn't forget that. But how would I look if I kept bringing it up? I'm trying to help and it's not working.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, let's go. Let's just go.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Violet and Sisk, you guys are headed off to the hillside market. Is that right?
Yeah.
As you make your way to the hillside market, you can see that this whole area is just very quickly coming alive. There's traders that are obviously folk new to town. Just their style of clothing puts them more from like perhaps the capital or the eastern side of the Imperium, and they purchased the whatever kiosk that they've got for the day, and they're setting up all kinds of things that are probably not from Rhymeglen. And then right alongside of that, you see dozens of local farmers that are setting up their things with all manner of fresh breads and cheeses and vegetables, most all of which were likely picked in that very morning or perhaps just the day prior. If there's a vegetable or cheese or something that you can think of, it's probably here, whether it was grown locally or brought in by one of the many merchants that are currently stopped over. It seems to be available. The one thing that you don't really notice is that there's not a lot from the north right now. Of the merchants and such, you would expect to find people that are, from the northern reaches, whether from the foothills, places like Orlustran or any of the myriad other areas of the Northland, they're just not really here. You might find one or two merchants, but that's it. Vastly outnumbered by the locals and the merchants from the east. As you make your way through, you also notice that there's a decent number of folk selling wares, more functional type wares, whether it be cooking utensils made of wood or steel even. And as you're going through, you can tell that quite a lot of things appear to be made of iron and steel. You find a merchant who apparently, very likely, never changes from his one spot, because some of the crates and such that he has set up to show off his very, very wide array of steel and iron pots and pans and such are kind of weighted into the ground, meaning that he's probably been there for a while. You come to learn pretty quickly that there's a mine not too far off, and that's very likely why the inn is called the Iron Tap Inn, because the mining seems to be a pretty major commodity that this town offers. So where you're at, if you did in fact need some new steel or iron accessories, probably would be pretty easy to get. What all are you guys looking for as you make your way through?
Well, I know we need foodstuffs. I definitely would get waylaid by these pots. I think they might be very nice.
I think we can get some tins, some bread tins.
Ooh.
Maybe some cake tins. I noticed there was some fresh fruit. Maybe we should grab some oranges and lemons.
Yeah. Get to eating them all we can.
Yeah, I think we should get a bunch of grapes and then maybe dry them.
Ooh.
It'll last a bit longer, and they go in that loaf that Bren wants. So.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
And yeah, just a bunch of oranges.
All of that is perfectly doable, and you would even probably find a seller who has a decent variety of different grapes that are already dried, depending upon what kind of flavor profile you're looking for. Maybe a couple of bottles of wine from some local vintner as well.
Awesome. I definitely would like to. I want to start off by picking up all the stuff that we need, and then I want to start browsing some of the fun stalls of all the random stuff. Mm-hmm. And I also want to try and get some information on, I'll tell some of the merchants. Oh, look, we're heading south. Is there anything new happening there? Have you been there recently? What's going on in the area? We heard that there's zealots in the north. So are there also zealots in the south right now? And
go ahead and roll for me a persuasion check, please.
Okay. I'm going to, in advance, say I'm going to use my advantage. And,
okay.
Can I use guidance?
Yeah, I'll let you use guidance.
Yes. Okay.
Is there a way that I could assist with that?
Sure. You could, in this case, since they already declared they were using their advantage, I'll let you roll separately.
Hmm. And what did you say this was?
Persuasion.
Persuasion? Okay. So, 16.
That's pretty good.
Not, yeah.
Better than Violet. I got 5.
Okay. Violet has a hard time picking up any news from the south because most of the people that would know that are the merchants and such, the people that are not local to Rhymeglen. And she just gets a lot of folk that aren't really interested in talking to her. They aren't rude per se, but they're rude by omission in that they're friendly to other people, but they're not friendly to Violet. Yeah. Sisk
She's used to that.
Yeah, she's kind of used to it at this point. She doesn't really get that problem from the locals, but most of the locals don't really know much about the kinds of questions that Violet is asking. Sisk fares a little bit better. Sisk has a natural charismatic attitude. I should have clarified, are you as your Sienna persona right now?
I am just I was playing in a mirror with my face, so I'm just like a random person, like not
Okay.
who I am normally today.
Okay. I'll say also that maybe as you were in town, you kind of got a feel for the locals and their attire and demeanor and such, and you ducked behind a little hideaway spot to maybe change to look a little bit more like a local.
Yeah.
And as you're conferring with some of the folk from the east, you find one particular merchant who hails from the capital and had recently ventured along the edges of the desert.
Named Borg?
Pardon?
Named Borg? You got Korg, Borg?
No.
No.
Do you want him to be named Borg?
Yes.
Sure. His name is Borg.
Perfect.
You find a guy named Borg who lets you know that the winter was particularly harsh for the desert lands, and so there's not been much coming out in the spring, and on a couple of different occasions, news ventured forth that some caravans were lost in the deserts from the various hazards that exist there. You are also able to learn that whatever the religious fervor that seems to be kind of embracing the continent has yet to make its way to the desert yet. But you know that that's kind of normal. It seems to start in the east and then go to the north and then finally head south. So, yeah, that's basically what Sisk is able to learn.
That's perfect.
You're also able to pick up all of the various foodstuffs that you're looking for, the vast majority of which easily is able to fit in Violet's bag of holding. The pots and pans, relatively easily done. There's a little bit of haggling, of course, but you still end up paying far cheaper for the quality of good here from locals than you would have if you were trying to buy at some market up in Orlustran for probably even a lesser quality item. And as you make your way through, I will say that by the end of your time along the hillside market, particularly Sisk, and even to a slightly lesser degree Violet, you start to get a feel that as the couple of hours have gone by and the festivities from the Harvesttide have kind of kicked in, it seems to be like propagating its way up from the central square up into the hill, Market Hill. And there's people going around like carrying trays and baskets filled with cider or fresh foods and such from the festivities. Like there's a concerted effort for everybody's moods to be elevated, despite the dark clouds on the horizon and the undercurrent of whatever troubles exist in the Imperium outside of Rhymeglen. The people here seem to be putting a lot of effort in lifting the spirits of everyone present. And that even includes Violet at some point or another, as some young lady walks by with cider and some fresh buttercream rolls and just kind of foists it into Violet's hands without seeming a care, and before wishing her well and moving on.
She liked you.
Shut up.
I also I got well she did that. I got you candied orange. It's like a piece of orange, bunch of pieces of orange on a stick that's all candied like a kebab.
Really nice, sis. I appreciate it.
How you doing?
I don't know. Nice not to be on the ship, I guess.
I'm not
I don't
looking
know,
forward to the walk back.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel weird. I don't know. I know I should just talk to 80, but I don't know how to. And I don't know if I'm ready. And she's still processing her mom's stuff. And I don't know. I told Mira that I just don't want to dump a bunch of my shit on top of that. You know?
Well, I don't think you'd be dumping on shit onto 80, and I think as much as you want to help 80 also wants to help you. And I think you met 80 first out of 80 and Mira, right? So like you probably have a little bit more of a bond, a longer connection, I guess, with 80. Like, you know, it's hard. I think you can be there for each other at the same time. I think you can make yourselves stronger together rather than, I guess, separate. But you also don't have to talk to her right now. And if you want someone there, I can be there to support both of you. But how are you like? Because like I don't think you've finished processing this either. So like,
that's what I mean. Like I'm not. I haven't, and I normally would talk to 80 about this, but I don't know if it's fair. I don't want to take up more space. And, you know, she has her dad and her sister to talk about things. And maybe when she's feeling a bit better, then we can talk. But I don't know. I feel this, like, I don't want to call it resentment, but like it is kind of rooted in that. And I don't think that's fair to like project onto her, because I know she didn't mean to do what she did, but I can't help but feel that way. And I know both can exist. I know my feelings are valid, but I feel like in order for me to be there for 80, I need to be grounded in my stuff.
Okay.
It just feels shitty not being able to talk to her.
I can't even imagine. You're so young.
Yeah. Been through a lot. And 80's helped me through a lot. And now I want to show up for her, but I don't know if I can.
It's okay. Sometimes even knowing that is enough. But she's so intuitive. I think
No,
I
and
think
that's what makes it even harder because, like, she knows I'm avoiding her because I am, and like, she knows how I'm feeling because she's like 10 steps away from me. But that's what just makes it even harder because it's like,
Mhm. You feel like you have to control. You're trying really hard to control how you're feeling when around. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure she hates that too.
Like, I don't have. It's not that I don't have space to feel my feelings, but if I'm sitting there feeling my feelings, I know 80 is also feeling my feelings, and that's not fair.
Feeling someone else's resentment towards yourself is probably weird.
It's insane, right?
Yeah, that's
Well, I'm just trying my best. I know Mira said I should probably talk to her and tell her at least that I need space, but then it's like I'm in the vicinity, and then I don't know, I feel all woogly inside when I'm around 80 now. So it's like, I don't even know, man. So I'm just avoiding her, and I know it's shitty, but it's kind of on brand, I guess.
how so?
I don't know. Like, it's so stupid, but I feel like my dad just fucking running away from my problems and avoiding shit, and
So what is the opposite of what your dad would do in this scenario?
I can't, Sisk, right now. I can't do that.
Well, okay, so let's bring it back a bit. We can. Sometimes things with people, I think, are just awkward, no matter what you do, and you have to kind of sit in that for a time. And sometimes you have to watch someone that you love suffer for a period of time. There's nothing you can do to really help them. And that's just, unfortunately, a part of life. And all we can do is really push through to the next day and the next day, and
Well, what do you think I should do, Sisk?
nothing right now. You don't have to make a choice right now.
Great. I'll just keep avoiding her. It's fine. We'll be fine.
We can figure it out. There's plenty of years ahead of y'all. You're all half elves. You got forever.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'm sorry, Violet.
Thanks.
This really sucks. I wish I could do more.
You're just gonna have to sit in it for now. I don't know. How are you dealing with all of this?
It is. I don't even really, can't even fathom how all of you are feeling. So much is happening. It's all been so intense and personal, even when we thought that, it might not be. All I can think of to do is to try and get all of you out of here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming with us. I honestly don't know what we'd do without you.
I'm sure you'd find a way. You're all so smart. Especially you, Violet.
Oh my god. No, walk away.
As Violet walks away, Sisk, you glance over at one of the merchant stalls that you are walking past, and a particular set of metal steel plates catches your eye. And when I say plate, I mean like a chunk of steel that has not been shaped into any current use. Like it's a raw plate with the intention of you cutting it or using it to some other purpose that suits your need. It has a bit of a yellowish tinge to it, and you're actually kind of familiar with that metal. It reminds you of the kind of steel that you worked with very, very, very long time ago in your previous life, not in the Imperium. And you go over and you start talking to the merchant a bit, and they, they're happy that you're interested in it, that they had, it had been a mistake in the forge, and they're having a hard time selling it because it has that particular yellowish patina to it that some people find distasteful. It has something to do with the mix of iron dust from other aspects of steelwork into a particular set of carbon steel. And you know that where you're from, it's actually a pretty valuable piece of steel because it has a nice durability to it, and it makes it fairly easy to work with. You just have to take care of it, is all, in the long run. You have to know how to work with your final product and make sure that it doesn't suffer the wear and tear. And yeah, you end up thinking that you probably could find a good use for it. And you barter with the guy, and he's more or less happy for you to take it off of his hands, and you end up paying just a handful of coin compared to what you should have to pay for it.
Sweet.
You eventually...
After I walk away, I tell Violet, we scammed him. Sorry.
Violet...
Just garbage?
Yeah. Sisk approaches you with like 4 rather decent sized like sheets of steel under their arms, all giddy about it. I'm assuming that you offer the bag of holding so that Sisk doesn't have to carry it. Because it's like 20 pounds of steel, so...
I'll definitely, if I can put it in the bag, I will. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe I'll hold one. No, I'll put it all in the bag.
Okay.
So let's head back then, shall we, to the twins. As you two, I believe the indication was that you were headed off to the Iron Tap Inn. As you make your way to the Iron Tap, it is worth noting that this is one of the largest buildings in all of Rime Glen, and it is pretty well packed at this point. There's lots of folk there for the celebrations. You can see quite a number of wait staff moving around the various tables and such. 80 having done a couple of stints. Oh, that monster kitty. 80 having done a couple of stints in a place such as this can easily recognize that probably every employee that they have, and maybe a couple of extras that have been hired for the day, are present, taking care of the folk that are here. You manage to get lucky and find a couple of spots at the bar. As you sit down, tall woman named Morel comes over. She very quickly just gets your drink order and plops them down in front of you, doesn't seem to worry about collecting coin, and goes back about handling other customers as well. It's pretty busy. You can barely hear yourselves over the din and noise of the place.
80, I don't know, they're probably drinking ale or whatever, but 80 would also have ordered a stiff dark liquor. And it's already gone. And then she'll walk back to the table.
You're at the bar.
She'll walk back to her friends.
Was Bren joining the twins, or was he off doing? Okay, and then you're all three there. Sorry, I would realize that I had probably left Bren off by accident. What would you like to do?
80's just sitting there waiting for Bren to do his Bren stuff.
It's really loud in here. A lot.
Yes.
It's crazy from how it is outside in here. It feels like it's two completely different towns.
Have you been in a bar before?
Yes.
They do tend to be loud.
It's just, I'm saying compared to how everyone was outside, it's shades different in here. You would think because of the party around the, okay, fuck it. Let's talk about it. It's on your faces.
I don't want to.
Okay, that's fair. Mira?
I don't know what you want to talk about. I
understand a lot has happened in a very short amount of time. That seems to be the norm for our group. What has happened to you both and to your father is huge. And it's really not something that you should just put away. Everyone appreciates you putting it to the side in those moments, but we are no longer there. Come on.
Where am I supposed to put all of this? Where? My mom's dead. Violet hates me right now, and that's fine. And something happened. What am I supposed to do with that?
Well, you're starting in the right direction. You're talking about it. Piece by piece. Violet may be upset, but she doesn't hate you.
Yeah, I know. I can actually tell. But thank you. It was more sort of just like the idea that she doesn't want to talk to me right now. Rightly so. Because I really fucked up there. Yeah.
She probably doesn't know how to approach you in this moment. I mean, the both of you lost a lot in the same time. This might be one of those moments for you, 80, to where you might have to be the stronger one of the two.
Mira would be getting just a typical low-level anguish that has just been there for the last few days. But when he said that I should be the strong one, she gets pissed and hides it, but she gets really pissed.
I think it's hard for anyone to understand how much harder for 80 this is. Because she lost her mom, and now she has to feel my feelings about it, and your feelings about it, and Violet's feelings about it, and every fucking person's feelings about it on top of her own. So if she wants to push it down or ignore it or get shit-faced, great.
She takes like a huge swig.
I tell you guys about the first thing I did after I lost my father. Let's just say that's not the first hole that I put in that home. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't know that I could do it. And that was after I took that and pushed it down as far as I could. It's the problem with pressure. Once it builds, it has to go somewhere. And you're right, 80, you have a severe disadvantage in this because you just don't get the luxury of dealing with your own feelings. You also have to be privy to everyone else's, which is why it's understandable that you need a little bit more grace. But if you distract yourself with everyone else's feelings, whether it's to ignore them and you keep pushing yours down, you're never really going to figure out how you feel.
I know that. I've been told that so many times. And she'll look at Mira. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thought. I can't. There's only so much that I can do with this. And I'll deal with my feelings once everyone else has calmed down a bit. But right now, I am afraid that if I let myself feel anything, that I don't know what to call it, like blow up again. And I'm afraid that I'll hurt someone or myself or I don't know. So for now, I'm going to drink this ale and thank you for your wisdom. And that is what I can do right now.
Okay.
Mira picks up her glass and clinks it against 80's and just downs the rest. Calls for another one.
80 is close behind. So, let's enjoy this right now.
No, you two have your time. I'm gonna stretch my legs a little bit more. And then Bryn kind of just like he hasn't like touched his drink. He's left it there, and he's like, okay. And he gets up and he leaves the tavern. Like no, legit, just leaves it. He's not upset or anything. He's just like, okay, just leaves.
Fuck.
Well, that went well.
Sorry.
You don't have anything to be sorry about.
I do. I've got plenty to be sorry about, but again, I am not gonna think about that right now. And she'll take Bryn's drink and pull it in front of her. You want to cope with me?
Yeah.
Great.
Bottoms up.
Chug, 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 chug.
I'd like to go look for Sisk and Violet if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't take too much effort to find them. Just takes a little bit of time. As you go in search of them, you can see that the festival kicks off properly, with quite a number of people moving through the town square, musicians starting to play, a bonfire is starting to get set up, and all manner of normal, everyday life starts taking place around you. I think in particular for Bren, one of the things that stands out to him most is the children that start chasing each other through the streets. There's a sense of wonder in them. And of course, they're kids, so at some point or another, he sees one of them, push another one down and, start arguing over some silly thing or other, and then eventually spots the same pair of kids that were just arguing, like hugging each other and laughing, not minutes later, as kids are wont to do. And there's a certain peace to all of it. And then coming down from the market hill, he runs into Violet and Sis.
Hey, you two. How'd you fare?
I think we found some stuff.
No.
Sis got a lot of garbage for a good deal.
What'd you get?
Literally 10, 20 pounds of steel.
Well, let's see it.
She'll put her bag on the ground and pull out the sheets.
What a hunk of junk.
Come on.
Nah, we can, no, we'll definitely, yeah, we'll use it for something. I like the yellow little sheen on that. Is that normal?
Yeah, it can. Well, it can be. It's actually pretty normal. Back home, Sis will do the biggest wink. And
There's something in your eye?
no, back home. And we got a bunch of food and stuff, some fresh stuff for at least the next couple days. Last us a little bit.
And some dried stuff.
Do you think we have enough to kind of carry us for the rest of the trip, or do you guys do we need to get more? Or?
I would think I would have
Think
tried
so?
to do the rest of the trip, but
And extra too.
yeah.
Good. The twins are in the tavern, coping.
Okay.
That suggests leaving them to that. That's why I didn't stay. I didn't need an old dusty man sitting there shadowing over them. Stuff. I'd let them keep their time.
Okay.
Could you? What were you gonna say?
Do you wanna do some festival stuff while we're here?
I'm actually. You know what? I do. Could you do me a favor though? Can you hold my bag for a moment?
Take your bag.
Thank you so much, Sisk. And then you see Bren kind of shuffle behind one of the booths, and then from the other side of the booth comes this little dog.
Oh.
Then Bren goes and he runs and he jumps and he plays with the kids as a dog.
Oh my god.
I turned about it. I was expecting the bear. This is so much better.
What does dog Bren look like? Specifically, what breed and fur pattern markings, colorations does he have?
Honestly, it's because it's my dog. It's probably a blue healer, right? But instead of the white spots that you can see on some healers, they're actually like a very faint silver purple that kind of go, and then actually on his snout is just a little gray. He got a little gray on the snout that kind of shows a little age, and you can tell it's him because if you look at him, the dog's eyes are stark purple, like Bryn's. But he goes behind the booth, comes back out as the dog, and he walks up to you guys and just looks at you, and then runs and goes plays with the kids who are running around acting a fool.
They immediately, of course, swarm the dog. Speaking of dogs, hey. They immediately swarm Bren, and he gets wrapped up very quickly in the play of the kids. What does Sisk and Violet do?
I think he needed that.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna just be watching for a little while.
Are there any like carnival games or anything like that?
Sure, they're not really.
Yeah,
they're not really contests type games, that sort of thing. But you see some folks that are they're not competitions, right? Or anything like that. But it's festive, right? There's spontaneously things just start happening as folks levels of intoxication or joy or whatever rise. Things invariably end up happening.
Miko, give us a comprehensive history of this festival right now.
No.
I need to know how many Midway games and what they are and what the prizes are.
Costs for everything.
Anyway, moving on. Do you two wish to do anything else?
I feel like we're just vibing.
All right. As you end up sitting there vibing, you of course are brought into the festivities pretty easily. It probably feels a little awkward to Violet at first, because whilst she does get the occasional glance of someone recognizing her ears, no one objects. She occasionally might get the cold shoulder from someone, but other than that, that's like the extent of it. And there's a certain welcome that occurs there of, you're just a person. You're just here. And so as you all kind of get wrapped up in the festivities, and particularly as the musicians start playing their music, we will cut back to the twins who are dealing with it, we'll say.
In a very healthy way.
Very healthy way.
Yep.
You quickly come to understand that the drinks on this particular day are apparently free. None of them are particularly high quality beverages, but the tap house seems to have a decent enough selection, and there's a lot of people coming in and out of the inn. People coming through to get a drink or to meet with a person before heading out to the other festivities and such. Do either of you have any desire to go out to join the festival, or do you just want to stay here and drink?
What do you want to do?
I'm feeling a little better. I hope you are too.
Sure.
How are you feeling?
Like I want to make trouble, but that's a bad idea.
You shouldn't have said that. I would not stop you. And you know it. I would make it worse.
I know.
I mean, we can't. We have to leave. Today.
Maybe that means we can?
Maybe. It did look fun out there. I do want to see things. It's all so much. And I feel... I don't even know. It's all just, you know.
Sounds like you need another beer.
Yes. Sounds like you do too.
Can't hear you now, Beth.
Lost your audio.
As
couldn't
you
hear Beth, but I heard all of that.
Yeah. As you two are contemplating getting another beer and nodding at each other that you both need one, I will say that Mira starts to beckon the barkeep once again. And before her hand goes fully up, she feels a tingle of magic in her mind, and floating over her shoulder, a small paper bird flaps its way in front of her face. Floats there, just waiting for her to take it.
I'll reach out for it.
Can we hear you now, Beth? No. Didn't need to hear her to know what she just said. As Mira reaches out and takes the small paper bird, it magically unfolds itself into a small piece of parchment, and she recognizes the penmanship from her father. And it reads, "If you can, come up the hill. I'll meet you outside of the temple. I'd like to say goodbye."
I will show it to 80.
What?
I don't know. And I will get us 2 more beers and make us chug them before we go.
I'm feeling really good.
Great.
Very, very
Hopefully
good.
that makes this easier. I don't know what he's doing.
Nope. Let's just go.
As you all head out of the tavern, you can see that the festival is in full swing at this point. There's just tons of people now roaming around, with the darkened skies from the storms that are probably going to hit either tomorrow or the day after. It feels dark outside, but you know it's only really late afternoon at this point, and you see just a bunch of people having fun, as it were. And you see children running around with a average-sized dog with a bit of gray in its muzzle, just romping around having fun. There's a part of you both that wants to just stay there, maybe have a bit of fun. But you feel the pressing need to go see your father. You start making your way up the eastern side of the town, through those hills, up towards the Triune Sanctorium. As you start making your way up the hill, you can fairly easily spot your dad standing just outside of the Sanctorium's grounds, just a little bit of the ways down the hill. He's standing there, and he hasn't really noticed the pair of you yet. He seems to be just looking off in the direction of the north. As you approach, he does spot the two of you. You'd finished your ales and long since gotten rid of the cups. You're fairly certain that anyone that knows you could tell that you've imbibed a bit, but you still just see one of him, and you didn't stumble your way up the hill, you actually walked. He stops, or turns to look at you as you stop in front of him, and you can tell very clearly from the redness in his eyes that he has been crying quite a lot. Kind of clears his throat. I got the things that you need for Oriana, and he goes into a pouch and he pulls out a scroll case and a hardened leather satchel, and he just kind of hands them out to you, Mira. And I don't think there will be any trouble with doing that. I was talking with one of the elders in the Sanctorium about your mother. They knew each other from some decades past. And I mentioned that she's gone now. He, pretty saddened by it, of course. And he asked how the funeral went. He could probably tell that I was lying, and I told him it was fine, and it just got me thinking that he didn't get to say goodbye to her. I was kind of hoping that the two of you would come with me to say goodbye. I know you're processing stuff, and I know you've got to.
Back home?
No, just they have an area just on the outside of their grounds, over to the side of the Triune, where they hold ceremonies and such, and they'll let me use it. Just us, if that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holds out both of his hands towards you each to take one, and starts leading you around the side of the Sanctorium. As you go by, you can see quite clearly a number of monks standing in the courtyard, and as they see you move past, they look at you and they bow and nod towards you. There's it's not a reverence, but there's there's a silence, or an emotion in the silence, that you can feel that they know something heavy is taking place, and they're offering a kind of respect, as it were. As you look at them, you can see that several of them have no adornment of religion on them. They just wear simple robes. Others wear obvious iconography of Alpraxis or maybe Vimredale, Vitharian. But of the dozen or so monks that you see, you kind of get the sense that while this is a holy site, that there isn't an organization behind the religion here. It seems to be more about just honoring and respect. At least that's outwardly what is presented anyway. As you make your way around to the side of the sanctorium, you can see that there is a clearing. Not overly large. There's an array of stones set up in no particular positioning, no arrangement per se. Just a gathering of stones, shaped, easy to sit upon, ceremonial in a way, but more just a gathering. And Varric leads the two of you into this spot. He kind of hems and haws a little bit as he moves to sit in one of the center stones. And as he sits, you can see a few tears coming down his face. He doesn't try to stop them, but he doesn't wipe them away either. He just sits in silence for several moments. What do the two of you do?
I think 80 will sit too. And I feel like she'll sit and her fists would be clenched very tight. And she'd do her best not to be obvious about it, but I think she would be fighting so hard to keep her cool. Tears will come regardless, but I think she's like really trying to hold in just the waves of grief.
Made all the harder by the obvious amount of grief that is coming off of Varric in this moment.
Yes.
But coupled with that grief, I would say that 80 also gets to experience a sense of almost reprieve coming from him. That there's a hope anyway somewhere inside of him that whatever transpires in this, he'll finally start to feel some kind of relief from all of the pain.
She would feel glad for that and hopes more than anything that she can feel that too sometime.
Mira is very used to paying attention to both the twin bond and the outward signs that 80 gives of her sort of internal state. And so I think in this moment she just is the big sister and kind of loops her arm through 80's and gets 80 to lay her head on Mira's shoulder.
As the two of you sit there with your father, he doesn't say anything. But he does look at the two of you, and there is a soft smile that he's given you so many times before as he just watches you. Clears his throat and goes into one of the pouches at his side and starts rooting around for some things, and he pulls out a strip of cloth. It's one that you're pretty familiar with. It's a sash that your mother wore whenever she was at official functions for her job. You saw her take tremendous care of it and wear it many, many times for some ceremony or other. And you know that it belonged to her mother. And as he pulls it out, you can see that along with it, kind of wrapped up in it, he has a pair of rings that are there. He unfolds it all and you see the rings, and you know that these were the rings that they wore for their bonding ceremony. 2 simple gold and silver bands. And he stares down at this. He leans over and places them down on another stone next to him. Kind of chokes down a sob. You know, we were never sure whether or not which one of you would want to bond with someone first. We always said that whichever one of you was going to do that would be the one that we gave the rings to. I think now she would want you both to have them now. I'd like to give each of you one of them, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Reaches down and takes them. Holds them out. You can see clearly that one of them is larger than the other. But other than that, they're indistinguishable. He just holds out that one hand, and you can see that in the other hand he has taken the sash and he's clenching it horrifyingly tightly in his other hand. You can tell clearly that he wants to hold on to that.
I would nudge 80 and let her take which one she wants.
She would take Dad's ring, the bigger one.
Then I'll take Mom's.
As you take the rings, his hand kind of lifts up a little bit as if the weight of them had somehow been holding his hand down. And there's the smallest hint of him like reaching for them, and he just pulls his hand back and clenches it into a fist as he wraps it, both hands now, around the sash. He just looks up at the sky. You know, she used to love storms like this. She always said that if you thought hard enough, if you looked with enough care, you could find the peace amongst the chaos of it. Just think she liked the thunder and lightning. You two kind of remind me of that, you know. Thunder and lightning. Always so full of power and always ready to just storm the world. No, she probably didn't tell you guys enough. She loved you more than you can ever know. And whatever for bad decisions that we made led to certain that her love never wavered. Try to hold on to that, okay? Try to remember her for her thunder and lightning. That's what she would want. Kind of slumps his shoulders and sits back into his seat a little bit. You can see the sash in his lap as he's wringing it between his hands. Tears just coming down, but he doesn't stop.
I'll go over and hug him.
Katie would go over too.
As soon as the two of you come into contact with him, he just starts sobbing. Wraps the both of you up in his arms, squeezing so tightly. You're not really sure how much time passes. But at some point, he relaxes a bit and starts collecting his emotions a little bit. You hear him mutter as you're kind of pulling away from him. You hear him mutter a phrase in Elven. The Den Real. Den Real. And you know that translation is nothing but love. Either of you wish to do or say anything?
I think 80 would try. But I don't think she would be able to get anything out without, like, losing it.
Mira would take out the Heart of Orlumis and just hold it in both of her hands and stare at it for a little bit. And I think opposite of 80, Mira doesn't have any words that she wants to say. Mira can talk a lot when she wants to, but for her, some moments transcend words. And so I think she, in kind of homage to her mother and as a sort of nod to her training as a wizard, she's just gonna put the Heart of Orlumis away after a few minutes and then take out her mom's ring and just do a little flourish with her wrist, and the ring disappears into a little pocket. And she'll just sort of mage hand some flowers from nearby and arrange them and just do a couple of small little things and maybe use prestidigitation to play some kind of tinkling musical notes and just little nods of magic that remind her of Kalea and the good memories that she has.
You do all of that, and as you do it, you can tell very clearly that it has an effect on Varric. He smiles as you're doing part of it, and then he chokes back a sob with some other part, and he just runs the gamut of the emotional roller coaster through all of that. Some amount of time goes by with you all sitting there, and 80 perhaps notices it first, but eventually Mira does as well. You can see clearly that several of the monks have been watching from a distance, and they're all standing there in a fairly reverent state. And as it looks like the three of you might be wrapping up what you're intending to do, one of them steps forward and just bows. And Mira, you spot a small crystal dangling from their neck, shaped very much identically to the Heart of Orlumis. It doesn't glow or anything like that, but it's obvious to you. And you see his eyes glint with a little bit of magic before he turns back towards his monk brethren and kind of escorts them away. While that happened, 80 feels Varric step over to her, just wraps her into a hug, just the two of them. And he whispers into her ear, "I know you're scared. Anyone would be. You should know that your mother was the strongest person I have ever known. She was scared of her power sometimes, too. She was scared of her power a lot of times. Gonna be okay. Promise. You have something she never had, you know. And he steps to the side, and you can see Mira standing behind him, facing you now. He reaches out and pulls Mira in. The three of you share another embrace. Really don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to say it. I know where you guys are going is dangerous. That's not the reasons for this, but hope you can understand that I need to go and tell your brothers. I don't want to do it by some stupid magical piece of paper either. Sorry that I have to go.
Love you.
Too.
If you sign your name in my spell book, I can contact you.
Okay.
I don't know how it works or how long distance it works or whatnot, but
I think it works a lot like the way that your mother would send messages. So it should work across anything unless you find yourself on another plane of existence, which I'm not going to rule out at this point, considering the things that you two can do now. You, pull out your book.
Yep.
As you pull it out, you flip to the page where the names are. I'd like for you to tell me what Mira thinks, does, or says as she sees the faintest outline of her mother's name, as if it had erased itself from the book, but is just barely still there, like the imprint is still present, and she knows clearly where her mother's name was written that no longer is.
I'll trace the spot with my fingers and then point to a spot below it so that he doesn't cover it over.
He, with a flick of a wrist, a quill materializes in his hand that has some ink dripping from the tip, and he, not quite as elegantly as your mother's writing, writes his name in. And you can see that he pauses for a second as he finishes the last stroke, and the quill kind of drifts up to where your mother's name was. And you look up at him, he looks up at you, and there's this silent recognition between you as another tear comes unbidden. And he just lets the quill go, and it vanishes and closes the book. I'll get messages to you as I can. I'm sure your brothers are going to want to send something too. Let me know if you want me to say anything to them, okay? And he just kind of taps the book. Of the both of you. Takes a step back and starts rummaging around, and you see him start to pull out that rod that he had used before when you guys transformed into wind and headed up the mountain. He stops. But before I go, Mira, you heard what he said while 80 was transformed, right? The words that came out of... I can tell he can't quite say the name. That man's mouth. You heard what he called 80, right?
Aetherborn.
You know who else was researching that, right?
No.
Know that you've got the book. Mother and I have known for a while. You had it. He was okay with you having it. You should know. But you do need to keep it protected from others. Whatever Torin was into, whatever he was researching with the various origins of sorceress power, you think that's why he disappeared. Be careful. But if you can find out, probably would help 80 quite a lot.
I'll keep it safe.
I know you will. Both of you will. Not a hate goodbyes. And he just wraps the two of you in another hug. Pulls away pretty quickly. Starts to pull out the rod and activate the various runes on it. Either of you do or say anything as he leaves. He watches the pair of you as the magic slowly takes hold, and you see his form shifting into the mists of wind. And he picks up and is almost carried away by it. That's as good a spot as any for us to call it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sticking with us through all of that. Thank you, of course, to my amazing players. Hope we get to see all of you again very, very soon as we continue to tell this very emotional tale.